Welcome to InfluenceHER. I am your host, Megan Baker. Our communities feature some of the most extraordinary and strong women. These women are pioneers and visionaries who overcame obstacles, didn't wallow in defeat, but instead chose to rise. InfluenceHER provides a platform to empower and influence others. On today's episode, we are honored to welcome Terri Balliet, a dedicated public servant committed to helping children, families, and seniors get the support they need. From her early days as a child welfare case manager to serving as a COO of a nonprofit, Terri has spent her career driving meaningful change. She went on to launch the internationally recognized Community Assistance and Life Liaison call program in St. Petersburg, where social workers respond to nonviolent 911 calls, offering help instead of handcuffs. Today, Terri leads the Children's Network, one of the largest lead agencies in Florida, dedicated to protecting children who have been abused, neglected, trafficked, or abandoned across Hillsborough County. Now, as a candidate for St. Pete City Council, she brings a legacy of protection, compassion, and leadership, and continues to champion bold solutions that make a real impact. We are so proud to have you here today to share your journey.
Thank you.
Welcome. It's a pleasure. So first of all, for those who don't know, what really, if you could, describe your mission and what drives you to what you're doing today?
Sure. Thank you for the question. I would say that my mission overall, both personally and professionally, is really to help those that may not be able to help themselves. And that may mean with children and families and seniors, like you mentioned, and animals as well.
You've spent many, many years on child welfare and community protection. What was the moment that you knew that this was where you needed to be and it was your calling?
Sure. I had an amazing upbringing. I have an amazing family, and my parents always pushed me to do more. When I received my bachelor's degree in criminology and then moved to receiving my master's degree in counseling, I was always working to do more. I was interning in the morning and interning in the evening. And I started my very first job. I will admit it was at Taco Bell. I worked there for 24 hours and said, this definitely isn't for me. It may be for some, it's just not for me. And I pushed forward and became a juvenile probation officer in Hillsborough County. And that contract ended. Once that contract ended, then I became a child protective investigator here in St. Petersburg. And that contract ended. So I think that I have always been blessed in the way that when one contract has ended, it pushed me into another. And I think that that really allowed for me to choose exactly where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. And it goes back to being a public servant.
Now, you lead the Children's Network of Hillsborough County. Tell us about the work that this nonprofit does in the community.
Absolutely. We took over July 1, 2022, and it was from a previous lead agency. And it was starting really from ground zero, building employees from 40 employees to over 300 employees. And we are one of the largest in the state child protection agencies. When I took over, we had way too many kids in the system of care, those that were abused and neglected and potentially abandoned. There was probably about 3,800 kids in the system.
Goodness.
Not okay. That is one area that we do not want to be number one in. And we were in that position when we took over, and today we have just over 2,000. And I believe it's still too many kids, but what that also says is that we've had an opportunity to find forever families for our kids and do right by our children and families.
Let's dive into the reform a little bit more on that, if you will. What impact have those changes, really had? And you just mentioned some of them too, by not having as many kids in the system because it's not okay.
Right. When we took over, we we decided to do something a little bit different and take a leap of faith and create a program by which really keeps families intact. The last thing that we want to do is remove kids from their families unless it's an egregious incident. So we created a program where we would work with families and work with the investigators, work alongside of them to do everything humanly possible to keep families together. Kids do better when they're with their parents. Kids do better when they're raised by a family. And the program allowed for us to reduce the amount of kids that were coming into the foster care system by over half. We also put a program in place that allowed for us to expedite child studies and home studies so that we could find forever homes for our kids that were being adopted or had the goal of adoption. And today, we've been able to finalize adoptions for over 1,200 kids since we started.
That's remarkable.
1,200 kids. Yes.
Human trafficking is another area of focus for you. What do you want people to know about it? It's prevalent, unfortunately.
Yes, absolutely. That human trafficking is happening in our own very backyard. It's happening here in Pinellas County. It's happening in Hillsborough County. It's prevalent across the state of Florida. And I think that it's really important for people to know that even the basic signs and signals, it's important for them to know because, again, it's happening in our own backyard.
You have, you believe in a collaborative effort. Law enforcement is an area, that you have really embraced.
Sure.
And it's so important in the work that you do. Talk a little bit more about that.
I'll give you a recent example. We collaborated with not only St. Pete PD, but also the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office and Police Department and the U.S. Marshals around a project. It was a human trafficking operation, Operation Dragon Eye. Why they named it Operation Dragon Eye, I'm not sure, but we worked collaboratively with everybody in the Tampa Bay area. And what that operation did was recoup 60 kids that were being human trafficked. 60 kids. And that's a lot. It's a lot. And we were able to recover 60 both in St. Pete and Hillsborough County. That was huge for us. We partnered with everyone also to include daycare as well. So when we were recovering these individuals, these children, they were getting all their needs met immediately. Medical care, all the things to help these kids.
You have seen a lot of heartbreaking stories, but as you just mentioned too, some pretty amazing recoveries too. How are you able to separate, mentally? Because I'm sure it takes a toll on you and the work that you do.
Absolutely. I would say that, one, I have an amazing husband that allows for me to vent when I need to vent. And when I need to cry, he's there to console me. And I think that's important. There's always success stories. When there's heartbreak, there's always a success story that comes behind that heartbreak. And I will share a story with you if I may.
Please.
From this operation, we had an opportunity to meet several young people. And one of these individuals was 15 years old. And we recovered her. She knew she was pregnant. And for us and for this young person, it was the first time that she was able to hear her baby's heartbeat. And when you talk about heartbreak and, success and that tie-in, I guess you could take that particular example any way you choose. But for us and for that young person, that was significant because she was able to hear her baby's heartbeat for the very first time. And we were very proud of her because she turned over her trafficker, who in fact was the baby's father.
So that is such a touching story, and I totally get why you do what you do. The other side of it is you're running now for city council.
I am.
What sparked this?
So I believe that my skills as a CEO for a child protecting agency, I feel like my skills are very transferable. It's my job to advocate. It's my job to advocate on behalf of policy change. It's my job to make very hard decisions. And it's also my job to ensure that not only our children are safe, but also my employees are treated with utmost respect. And all of those skills are transferable. I have to make decisions based on large contracts and budgets and build relationships. And I told my husband almost 2 years to the day, I said to him, I just feel like I have one more stop. I don't know what that is, but I feel like I have one more stop. And that stop didn't necessarily mean within my career, but when I found out that Councilwoman Driscoll was terming out next year in my district, I thought, this is my last stop. And I have the time, the energy.
What are the issues that are important to you and you feel are important to the St. Petersburg community as well?
Sure, absolutely. One, I'd like to say I think that there are so many things that the city is doing right. But I do believe that there is great opportunity to strengthen our infrastructure as it relates to storms and sewage. And we know that not if, but when another storm hits us, we got to be prepared. We got to be prepared for that. I also believe that there is such great opportunity to really support our small business owners. That is important to me. It's important to the small business owners and really helping them to push through the red tape. There's a lot that goes into being a small business owner, and I really want to be able to advocate on their behalf. I believe that we deserve a city that should be clean and safe. We know that there are going to be a lot of visitors that come to St. Petersburg, and our city needs to be clean. It needs to be safe. Almost concierge, if you will, cleaning up the graffiti and making sure that, we're having ongoing contact with our homeless population. That's important. And that they're getting services. And we talked a little bit about the call program. I believe the call program should be expanded. I think that there's a great need to be able to help our homeless population, specifically those that have mental illness. That's important to me. And that's just a few.
Where do you stand on immigration? Because that is, a hot button issue. And certainly with your husband, Sergio, being from Venezuela.
Sure. Sorry, I get a little emotional when it comes to that. I had an opportunity to feel everything that my husband went through. And I know how hard he worked to get where he's at today. And, I believe that he did it the right way. He started from the bottom when he was a janitor. And when he had to teach himself to speak English. And he did that all on his own. So when I hear that there are others that are crossing the border and not doing it the right way and going around the law, I just don't believe that it's right. I don't believe that it's fair, because I know everything that my husband worked through and worked on to get where he's at today. And I am so proud of him.
Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
If elected, all right,
Sorry.
what would you get to work on like immediately?
Oh, gosh. First and foremost, I want to and will advocate on behalf of my constituents. I know that we may never, or may not, I should say, agree on everything. And that's fine. That's fine. I believe in a middle ground. I believe that although, I like to come from a place of yes, others may like to come from a place of no. Mm-hmm. I do believe that there's always a middle ground. And I want to do right by my constituents, whatever that means. And I think that it's important that I take time, while I'm going through my campaign. I have given myself grace to position myself in the community and meet new people. And I love to build relationships. I feel like I'm good at that. I feel like I excel at building relationships, and I'm giving myself opportunity to build those relationships so I know that people can trust what I say, and they know when they walk away from me that I'm going to do my very best to do right by them. That's my promise to them.
When you look to the future, mm-hmm. what would you want your legacy to be in leadership and public service? What does that look like?
Sure. I hope to leave this world in a better place. I hope to, leave this city in a better place. And, I hope that those that follow behind me and young people, I think about my grandbaby, mm-hmm. and think about, what is it going to look like for Flora when she's my age and when she has a family. I just hope that I am able to leave something behind, something meaningful, a gem behind that, when my kids and grandbaby decide to do something more, that they think about me and all the things that I've been able to accomplish.
Final question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you could speak to your younger self.
Oh, goodness.
I don't even know what I would say either. What would you say?
Sure. I think I would say to my younger self, there would be a lot I would say to my younger self. But I think what I would specifically say to my younger self is that, it's fine to fail. And give yourself permission mm-hmm. to make mistakes. Give yourself permission.
I don't think we give ourselves enough grace.
Megan, I would agree. And I still do that as an adult. Mm-hmm. And I say to myself, I'm giving myself permission to screw up and do something completely silly. As long as I'm not hurting anyone, I'm okay with that. And when I wake up in the morning, I know that I'm giving myself exactly that permission. And I should have done it a long time ago. So that's exactly what I would say to my younger self. Give yourself permission to be silly. Give yourself permission to screw up every single day, as long as you're not hurting anyone.
Terri, I could sit here and talk to you all day. I appreciate your time. CEO of Children's Network of Hillsborough mm-hmm. County, thank you so much for sharing such a great insight on your type of leadership, who you are, and what you're looking forward to in the future. Yes. And good luck with the campaign.
You.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'll be there to support you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Megan.
Thank you.